Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, swimming, swimming. I think that's Dory from Finding Nemo. And what's coming through today is your team asking you to continue to hold the faith, continue to keep moving forward, and keep following your highest excitement. Keep following what brings you the most excitement, fun, passion, whatever you decide to call it, or however you choose to see it. And let yourself just flow in that way. I'm seeing like a brook that is parting in two different ways, right? In this kind of like crossroads. And do you choose the one that is what you've always chosen, that brings discomfort, that brings having to fight, that brings having to push forward, right? Or, and it's really rocky on this path, right? Or do you choose the path that is smooth but slow? Smooth but slow but gentle, but still moving. I feel like I'm talking to somebody who is ebbing and flowing between these two paths. And it does feel like you are struggling to not get stuck in a freeze response is kind of what I keep hearing. So having a hard time not staying frozen. And what I mean by that is standing still. So you may do this by not making a choice, consistently thinking about all the options that could be, consistently thinking about what choice is best, scrolling, checking out in that way, using screens to check out instead of like choosing something to move forward with. Maybe fear-based thought just came through. It feels like you're in a fear-based and frozen space a little bit when it comes to making a bet on yourself, taking a chance on yourself. There's still some doubts coming in when it comes to confidence. It feels like my solar plexus just kind of started beating yellow. And so it feels like there's a little bit of doubt on like, can I do this? And this isn't just coming from your own self-doubt. This is coming from the societal rules that we're taught from a really young age, where, you know, we're taught that this is what life is supposed to be. We've watched everybody live life this way, right? And you're starting to break free from that. I see you in a cocoon, and I see you have holes in your cocoon, and you're starting to crack open and crack free from that. But it does feel like this is still dragging you backwards a little bit in some ways. And I think when it's dragging you backwards, that's when I'm feeling this kind of freeze reaction around, do I stay or do I go? If I go, there will be trouble. If I stay, there will be double. You gotta let me know. Do I stay or do I go? I don't know if the words are right. But there is this feeling of wanting to move forward, of seeing the path forward, but being a little too afraid to step onto it. But really wanting to, and feeling like you're almost there, like you're almost ready. You're in that last little push place. And I'm hearing the way is being cleared for you. So currently there is a clearing happening collectively. And it feels like you're part of the collective who is experiencing this clearing of old beliefs, of old systems and beliefs that we've been chained to since really our young age. And it feels like you are going through a certain clearing and purging of these beliefs and thoughts. And so it kind of makes sense why you're in this in between a little bit. And why you are kind of still getting caught a little bit in the freeze response, right? That has not been completely cleared away. It has not been completely moved away. It does feel like it's beginning to clear and you're doing it less, and though it's still taking up space at times. It also feels like with this clearing, though, you are being asked and called to rest and letting yourself just be and not over push in other ways. So I'm seeing somebody who's trying to like maintain their routine that they're usually in and feeling like it's harder right now to do that. And that's your sign that you're not meant to follow through with that routine at this time. Maybe you can do your routine, like specifically what's coming through is like exercise. Maybe you can do this routine, but you need to do a lighter type of exercise. Maybe you just need to go for a stroll outside. Maybe you just need to do yoga, not anything intense or heavy, because that's actually prolonging this process for you and it's keeping you from clearing. The universe is trying to help you clear so that you can move forward. But when you are pushing past that and pushing past what your body feels like it can do, you're keeping yourself from clearing and you're elongating this process in some ways. And so it feels like when you're receiving intuitive hits or you're receiving ideas of like, don't do that right now, there's a reason that you're receiving that. It's not that they want you, it's not that your body is saying that you shouldn't do these things ever again, but it's saying right now you are going through a recalibration. Right now you are going through a restructuring in your system. Your nervous system is rewiring. And so right now you are just being asked to let yourself rest and be, and let yourself enjoy and follow your passions within reason, like not pushing too hard. So, maybe that means doing it for a lot less time than you usually do, but still spending time and doing that thing that brings you enjoyment and passion and happiness, and then taking more breaks. Like that also feels like it's coming through. So I'm talking to somebody who can kind of like push themselves really hard to do things, and you're being asked to more so follow inspired action, inspired motivation. So letting myself rest. And then when I'm resting, if I have this thought or feeling to go back to this thing that brings me excitement or to do this thing that brings me excitement, let myself follow that and do that, and then go back to resting, right? So it's kind of like this really beautiful balance I feel like you're being asked to engage in right now. And my mouth is really dry, so make sure you're drinking water through these clearings, because it does feel like this is a chakra clearing and a pituitary clearing, which is the pineal gland, and a throat clearing in some ways. My throat just started to get hoarse. And so it does feel like there's this clearing happening all up in here, which also could be leading you to have some sinus sicknesses or head colds, headaches, things like that. I want to acknowledge that those things are happening because you're not listening to your body and system. So if you're trying to push past and you're trying to keep doing anyways, we usually have light sensitivity during these clearings, and that is what's going to give us headaches or a head cold, is us pushing past that, us not listening to that. And so knowing and paying attention and listening to your body and system when it's saying to do things and when it's saying not to. Obviously, you have responsibilities and things that you have to do. Totally understandable, and I get that. But on the time around those moments, making sure to take the downtime that you need to rest, to let yourself recalibrate, to let yourself reboot. I'm seeing like, those loading circles. I don't know what to call them. I'm seeing like a loading circle, and you're about 60% through, and it feels like maybe this has been going on for a couple of days now, and you're like, what the heck is wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. These things take 5 to 7 days is what I'm being called to share when it comes to that rebooting. And that doesn't mean that you need to just completely collapse throughout this time, but it does mean that you need to be easier with your system, and you need to be easier with yourself, and you need to let yourself rest and do what it needs to do for you to be able to move through this successfully. Because when you are pushing against this, it only elongates this. So you're going to feel more burnt out. You're going to feel more exhausted for longer periods of time, rather than learning to work with it and learning to move with it and learning to dance. I'm hearing like learning this like beautiful dance where you're learning how to do and you're learning how to rest. And learning how to let that dance be okay, even if it surpasses a certain amount of period of time than you think it should. So it does feel like whoever I'm talking to has like this expectation of how long this should take or be. And that really is dependent on you, on how long things take and are, and how long these clearings last. Because it's dependent on how much you're listening and how much you are learning that dance and moving with that dance, and how much you are fighting against it, how much you are pushing up against it and resisting it. Because the resistance is only going to create a longer timeline for it. It's learning to move through. The other piece that's coming through is about how you're talking to yourself. And being careful to make sure that you're being gentle and kind and loving with yourself as you are needing more rest, as your body is needing more rest, as you are taking in more light, as you are healing your nervous system. You're being asked to recognize when you need more rest, recognize when you need more. My throat keeps going, and it feels like alone time is what wanted to come through when I said that. And then it started to clear a little bit. So it does feel like maybe you are using other people to try to move through this thing, or talking to a lot of people about what's going on for you. And this is about learning how to not need to know all the answers and not have to have all the answers, but to just accept and move forward. And letting yourself be okay with not having all the answers. I am feeling like a very strong light sensitivity. And so you may be feeling that as well as you're using screens and watching things where your eyes just kind of start to hurt. And so being asked to let that go, even just like laying down in your bed and closing your eyes, or just sitting where you're at and closing your eyes and giving yourself some time to rest. The optical nerve is what I just heard, to rest this part of your body. It's okay to seek support and need support, but right now you are being called to kind of be with yourself and sit with yourself and let yourself be the one who is doing the self-soothing, not the external people or the support that you're trying to receive externally. Like, there's a lesson here around learning how to self-soothe yourself, self-serve yourself. That's what I almost just said. But learning how to do that for yourself and not needing that from other people as much, not expecting that from other people as much, and letting yourself learn how to embody that and give that to yourself. Because as you're able to do that, you will become your biggest cheerleader. And also, nobody externally from you can really understand what you're going through on an internal basis, especially when we're experiencing these clearings and these purges. I'm hearing breaking out as well. You may be breaking out on your face or on your body with pimples and things like that. That also usually indicates that you're purging and releasing a lot of old stagnant energy. So could be old beliefs, could be old thoughts, could be old patterns, right? Could be old ways of thinking. It's really hard for other people to understand where you're at in that process because we're all kind of in different places when it comes down to that. And it does feel like I'm talking to somebody who doesn't have a lot of people around them who really understand what they're going through or have been through the same thing. So this is kind of a new thing for you as well as a new thing for the people around you. And I think that's partially why you're talking about it so much, is trying to understand it and learn more about it and like reach some sort of like that make this make sense kind of energy is what I'm feeling. And it's not so much about making it make sense as much as it's about learning just to move through it and learning to just accept what it is and learning to just be in it and learning to just continue forward anyways. And that's part of surrender. When you hear people talking about this idea of surrender, that's kind of part of what surrender is. It's being able to not need to know all the answers or have all the answers, but just learn how to live with it, learn how to move with it, right? And in a gentle and kind and compassionate way towards yourself. Not fighting it, not resisting it, not pushing back on it, just letting it be what it is and learning to kind of dance and move with that. I'm hearing like ebb and flow, learning how to ebb and flow with it, right? Learning how to rest and learning how to do with inspired action and learning how to rest and learning how inspired action, right? And not needing to shove past that or push past that. It does feel like you're doing a really good job with these things and you are doing better than you've ever done before and you are surrendering and trusting more than you ever have. And so for that, you should feel very proud of yourself with that. Your team is very proud of you. Your ancestors are really proud of you. Looking back from now, you're not the same person you were a year ago at this point in time, or even 2 years ago at this point in time. And that's a beautiful thing. And that shows the growth and how far you have come. And so take that time to take this time to acknowledge that. Take this time to give yourself praise and love and acceptance for how far you have come. And recognize that we are always growing and you're still growing, and that's okay. And this is all part of that process to becoming, right? You are becoming. And you're kind of in this last leg of this becoming process where you're about to come out of that cocoon into this beautiful butterfly. You're about to spread your wings, but you're still kind of eating. I think they eat the cocoon to get out. I don't know if that's true. And I'm seeing somebody still nibbling away at the cocoon, trying to release themselves from it to be able to come out. And when I'm talking about the cocoon specifically, what the cocoon feels like to me is these old thought patterns, these old belief systems, these old ways of living your life, these old ways of making income, these old ways of working, these old ways of kind of moving through your life in routine. Like that is still being shed in some ways. That is still being shifted. And you're still eating away and removing those patterns for yourself. And so be gentle and kind with yourself as you continue to move through this, and let yourself purge these things. Let yourself release these patterns and thoughts. Let this happen kind of in a natural way, because naturally it will happen if you allow it, if you let it, if you surrender to it. But if you are resisting and pushing up against it, things become much more difficult and harder. I'm going to leave the message there. My name is Crystal Holben, aka Crystal Clear Mystic. And if you feel called to work with me or need some help with these things, take a look in my bio. I love you so much. Take care of yourself.